All right, guys, I got some more work done here. It's probably been a week or so at least since I got the camshaft in here. Now from 440 Source, a company that just does 440 or big block Chrysler stuff, I got this nice plate here that fits over the valley. It looks like they were supposed to remove the heads to put these on, but this slips in nicely underneath the head. So this side I just bent it a little sharper angle so you can slide it in under the head right there, and then this side will just push down, then you just run a little bead of sealer along the edges of it. You have to do that anyways to seal it up. This is a lot nicer than using this old thing. This nasty piece here just gets all kind of crap in it, and rodents love hanging out in there. So I'll do that. But the problem I've been having is with push rod length. I made my own push rod length checker. Cut an old push rod down, put a bolt on the end of it with a welded nut, and then round, and then balled the end of it, because this is a cup and ball style. Like this here. So you got the cup on one end and the ball on the other. And the problem I was having was I couldn't find the right length. So I went to 440 Source, and the length I need is kind of right in between the two lengths that are sold. And even on Summit Racing and Comp Cams, nobody came close to the size I needed. This is one that I just made. What I did was I took the longest push rods I could get from 440 Source and just cut them down myself to get what I wanted. So what I want here on this cup and ball setup, I want the ball to come down with just a few threads hanging out of the end of it. Somewhere right about there. I don't want it too long like this. That can't be good for it. Plus the hole, these are 3/8 push rods, and the hole in the head, push rod rides, if it's too long or too short of a push rod, it comes really close to rubbing on the head. And I'm not going to take these off and start opening up the whole push rod holes. That's just ridiculous. So I'm going to have to make my own. They do make cut to fit push rods, but since I already ordered pre-made ones, what I'm going to end up doing is popping the tops off of these and then cutting them and then pressing them back in again. But so yeah, so the ones that I got, either one was too short and they're stuck way out like that. And it looks like when I do that, the angle's so steep, you're going to actually push a load sideways on this. It's got to be very hard on the rocker arm. And then the other way was way too short, where the cup would probably rub on the bottom here, bottom of the rocker arm. These rocker arms look really nice. They're just like factory cast rocker arms. They were a good price. They ride really good on the shaft. Came with the shaft and everything from 440 Source. A few other people sell them. They're pretty tight. They feel pretty good, pretty reasonable. And then the other problem I ran into was, here's the factory centering pieces here, where the push rod will just kind of rub up against the end of it a little bit, not with any force. But with these rocker arm, or the rocker arm will rub up against it a little bit. But so they would sit like this, you know, in where the bolts are. But they'd sit up like that and right up against it. But the stock push rods or rocker arms had a big shoulder on them. These don't. So these kind of push up underneath the edge of it a little bit there. I don't like that. Even I bought shims to fit in between there, and the shims are really thin. They're not made for that. And these rocker arms use springs in between them to put a little more pressure on the sides, which these are not going to work right. So I had to buy the billet, the little blocks. And so I'll put a spacer in between there to help protect a little bit, and these will ride up right against it really nice. I think that'll be fine. Hot rods, you know, it's just one thing after another. So now though, I got the 440 Source push rods. I had some old Comp Cams push rods. They're both chromoly 3/8 cup and ball. So I boogered up a couple of them trying to figure out why I couldn't press these back on all the way. And it turns out that the push rod, so the top end of it is thinner, and then about so far down it gets thicker in here around the middle, a lot thicker, probably for strength. So on the so depending on how much you cut off the end of this, you could run into that thicker area. And these little caps, you see that little ring around it, it's a step up. So that bottom section really doesn't do anything. That step up section right around the middle, that's the part that presses into the push rod. So what was happening, that bottom section there that's just kind of floating down there would hit that thicker area of the push rod and wouldn't let me push it all the way down. There's probably a good 1/8 of an inch or so in between. Let me show you one of these. This one. In between, I couldn't get any farther than that, and if I tried, it would distort the push rod and mess it up. So I boogered up a couple. So I got to use 2 sets to make one good set. And but what I did on the comp cams ones, I would just cut that reduced shank end off of there a little bit, about a 1/16 of an inch off, and it was just enough to press it all the way down. And that's not going to hurt anything. That looks like it's going to be perfect. These things are really hard material. But so we're going to do that. Going to finish these up. I'll show you how I popped the tops off of them. I got 2 that I left to show you how I did it. And then we'll get started on this. Finish up these push rods. But what's neat about the comp cams push rods, you can buy them single. So I can rebuild that stack of push rods that I had there. All right, so what I did was, we got the push rod here. So I found a socket. It's a 3/8 drive socket. Slips perfectly over this push rod, right onto the end. 2 pieces of wood. Push it up close to here. 2 screwdrivers with a nice angle on them, pry bars. Some are easier than others. Oh, this one's going to be a tough one, I can tell already. Some come right out, some don't. Oh yeah, this one's going to be a hard one. It's just slipping on the wood. I don't want to damage the push rod. Let's see. Whew. There we go. Oh, yeah. So there we go. We got that bad boy out of there. So we'll put that to the side. Now my longest push rod that I cut, we're going to go with that. The push rods will probably be maybe a few thousandths within each other. But that's okay. They don't have to be 100% exactly the same. But they're pretty damn close to the eyeball. Like that one. That one. That looks good. All right, so this is the longest push rod. I'll use this on every one of them to measure everything. I marked it. So what I'll do is I'll cut a little off the end, and then I'll just work my way up to it with my tabletop grinder. I'm just going to cut a tiny bit off. I'm going to do that with every one of them. We got these done. Now let's go out to the table and then we'll just work them up slowly till they get to where they need to be. A little ways to go on that one. Now I went in here to make sure it was exactly as I could get it, with the straight edge to the wheel, and get them as square as possible. Every now and then I'll turn it a little bit. Yeah, I know, it's a tedious process, but nothing worthwhile is easy, you know. Now I know how to do push rods. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna cut off the chamfer. Then I'll go back inside and I'll chamfer the inside edges of them. That looks pretty good. Right on the money. There's one. Alright, now that I got all my push rod lengths set up, I got my little chamfer here. Hit each one of them. Then I'll wash them out. Little brake cleaner. One. Better if I tap them, huh? Get some of that junk out of there. Alright, so we got those. Now, let's push them back in there. Let's see what we got here. So I got an old lifter here which has a nice recess for the ball so I don't damage it. Little bit of lube. Just a little bit of lube on the end of the cap here. Not too much. I'll put this in here. So it's already going in pretty well. I got this old block here. That's it. That's it. This is such hard material. Even doing that does not dent or damage this in one single bit. If you wanted, you could use another piece of metal in between and just bang on that. I even used the socket. On some of them, I could put this on the head of it, like this, and then just bang on this. It'd be a little softer than on the edges of here. But it's on there. Let me give it an extra little whack. Make sure it's seated pretty well with the socket. But don't be surprised if you don't get it all the way down within, you know, a few thousandths even. When you run the car, it might push it down a little bit more, and then you have to reset your valve lash. But that's par for the course on that one. But it looks, I didn't bend it or anything. It looks good. It looks straight. So let's do the others. I'll use this time. I mean, you could probably press them in as well, but my vise doesn't get quite big enough. I'm gonna have to do it this way. Looks good. Looks good. Yep, that looks really good. Let's try the socket again. See if this will work. Almost. Pretty close. Sounded pretty good. You can hear the different change in tone on some of this stuff. Yeah, that looks good. I guess I was wrong. It will just barely make it. So let's try pushing it in this way. You gotta be very careful. I don't want to bend this push rod. Get it as straight as possible. So when you hammer it in by hand, at least you got the option of it being able to move a little bit. See, I don't like how that feels already. I'm just working it kind of like I'm hammering it. I can see it moving on the end right here. I can see the push rod trying to flex a little bit. So I'm not just wrenching it down. Okay, I don't hear it popping anymore. So, looks pretty good. I'll give it a couple taps just to make sure. Sounds pretty solid. Yeah, it looks good. It's all the way down. It's not bent. So let's keep going. A little bit of looby-dooby. Let's get it started. it again. As straight as I can. If it ain't straight, you're probably going to be trying to push it in at an angle. It's going to make it more difficult. I can see it over here. Let me show you close up. Right there. See the other? See, that one went in real nice. Yeah, that's it. That's all the way. So that's the difference when you get it in there straight. That one went real easy. The one before that was fighting me a little bit because I probably didn't have it in there perfectly straight. Definitely have a more forgiving when you're doing it by hand because it can move around. Looks good. I know I didn't do them all already. Alright, here's this one. Alright, let's get this in there. Alright. Let's try another one. Just trying to line it up the best I can. There we go. So I'm giving it pressure, I'm letting off, pressure, let off. Watching it slowly. That looks good right there. I'll give it a couple taps. That looks good. All right, all right, all right. Dang, that was quick. Huh. Did I get them all done? I got one more. Of course, the last one is going to be the pain in the neck. Let's try this again. Go. You see, watch what I'm doing with the handle. This seems to work pretty good. So I'll give it, watch it. Whoop, little bit, little bit, little bit. I can hear it. That looks pretty good. Looks really good. Let me give it a few taps, love taps. Okay, so you can push them together with whatever you got with your vise, or just hammer them on there with a hammer, or whatever you got to do. That looks good. So looks like I got them all in there. I think this is one that I cut. This is why I ruined a good set. I cut one way too short. That's why I had to use one of the push rods out of my comp cam set. There's different colors, but they're both chromoly 3/8. The ends are the same, everything's the same. All right, so the push rods look really good. They're all kind of within a few thousandths of each other. Be just fine for an adjustable set. So these are all 440 source, and then I got 2 of the comp cams ones. They looked almost identical. The ends are exactly the same. So whatever sources these guys got all their stuff from, they're probably the same source. But push rods are different colors, but they're the same thickness inside and out. So that should be good. These blocks will help keep the rocker arms from riding underneath the original hold downs. And so I'll get all these put together. So you see this side. See, they use springs in between. The stock Dodge did not use springs. They just had loose spacers in there, so these could walk a little bit, which worked fine for the stamped steel. But maybe since these are a cast assembly, they need to be a little more, you know, stable. I don't like having that much pressure on the outer edge. I'd hate for it to wear into it, but the spring is pretty tough. But maybe that's all I have to work with right now. I haven't seen what the factory setup. This is modeled after a factory original 60s style Dodge, but I don't think they ran springs in there. I'm not positive, but I highly doubt it. They probably just had little loose shims in here. But it's a little wide for the shims, to use the shims off of the stamped steel ones. But maybe I'm just overthinking it. Might be okay. But think of something. But I love this plate. That'll get rid of that damn thing. So let's see. Let me put I'll put all these together. I'm pretty excited, man. It's my first roller cam to see how this thing is going to work out. But I'll be able to crank it up and not have to break it in. That's pretty awesome. All right, now I wanted to show you guys this disaster. So I got this plate. Instead of using the valley pan that I usually use in these, that has a big dip in it, you can buy this flat plate that looks real nice, a little heavier steel, and then just use gaskets instead of the tin. But this is the problem I ran into. It said it would fit this intake, Edelbrock RPM, but the RPM, that plate is flat across the bottom. And you can see where I cut this out right here. This had a little bowl hanging down, and it's for the exhaust heat crossover. If you have EGR, I wouldn't do that because it's got a hole in it and a hole into the intake for the EGR, but exhaust crossover does not. So this did not have EGR, but it had exhaust crossover, which the heads don't have the provisions for it anyway, so this isn't even used. So I just lopped that off. So I got a flat right across the bottom so I can use this. This is more important for me to use the flat pan instead of the tin factory one. So I'll throw this thing on here real quick. Let's see, it should be clean. Yeah, then the bottom edges, I kind of chamfer them a tiny bit just to make sure that they don't adhere just a tiny bit, just to make sure it doesn't hit the bottom of that pan. And then you definitely got to put some lube or goop on the corners. There you go. All right, let's get the bolts in this thing. All right. That's a beautiful sight right there. That looks so nice. Plenty of room underneath it now. Man, when the other tin pan had that big valley in it, I would get rodents and stuff would hang out in there and pee and crap in it. That looks good. Yep, you did take a quick cleanup. Looks really sharp. All right, so all the adjusters are adjusted. I wanted to show you guys the trick that I do with these things. So now I'm going to show you what I do with these adjusters. Most people, when they do the adjusters, you know, you'll loosen it with the wrench. Then they would hold this still and then tighten the wrench. What I would do, that's the wrong size, but anyway, I'll show you. What I would do is I'll take the wrench, put it on here. Then when it's on there, and I got this, the Allen as well, at the very last, like, snug this up a little bit, and the very last slight 1/8 inch turn both of them together. Just a tiny bit, it'll lock them down much better with less force than if you just tighten the nut alone by itself. That seems to work pretty good at keeping everything tight. All right, this thing's looking really good. I just got the carburetor sitting on there for now, so let's get all this stuff bolted down and hooked up. Water pump and everything put in. Let's get this engine put back together. I love that valley pan. That is so nice. Keep the rat urine out of there. But yeah, I can't wait, man. Be able to crank this thing up without having to break the cam in. That's pretty awesome. I bought some Rototella oil here. I figured I'll go with synthetic, and so I bought some of this stuff, 1540, and then some of this Lucas Zinc additive. And usually I'll just run like racing oil in the other cars, same price, but maybe better stuff. It's hard to tell. Who knows anymore? But that stuff will be fine. That's what they had at the store, and that's what I'm going to run in this thing. So let's get to work and get this stuff put together. It's nice. The Mopar distributors, you can only go in or 180 out on these things. They're pretty easy. Let's see where number 1 is. There's a label on here, but I can't see it. I'll have to put it on the cap. This, I got these reversed. I might have this reversed. Let me see. Oh yeah. Cap's backwards. Okay. This goes on this side. That makes more sense. So you got the little dimple in there. This has to go down here. This hooks to here. So I already see a problem. Let me show you this. This is what you got to watch out for sometimes. The distributor is not sitting all the way down. It's a good 1/8 inch. That is not good. I don't think it was like that before. Oh, there it goes. Okay, it's just the O-ring. Thank God. It's starting to freak me out for a minute. But that's a good thing to watch for, because you can't get interference sometimes on these things. I mean, it is a hot rod. So, let's see here. Oh, yeah. Okay, there's the spot. Number 1 should be right here. No, I don't have that hooked up to number 1. I had that bolted there. That down there, that there. So this is number 1 right here. That's number 1. So it needs to be one's over there. I think I need to move the distributor shaft. Move it around a little bit. If I had some needle nose, I could do it. All right, I got these needle nose, so I'll show you I showed you previously what this thing looks like. Spin it around. Okay, now, let's see. So, need the shaft over there. It's going to be pretty much flat. There we go. That might be it. That's good. That means that O-ring's probably sealing really well. Okay, so we got number 1 is right here. Have to be right there. And it spins that way. Okay. Ow, that hurt. All right. That should be pretty good. That's good for now. Just get the wires and the spark plugs plugged in. This cap has been on this thing for a long time, and it's in great shape. All right. Yeah, I made these little brackets years ago, back when I cared about making everything nice. All right, let's grab the spark plugs here. I did want to get some really good NGK spark plugs, but I had these auto lights in it. They've held up for a long time, so I'm going to stick with these. They're still like brand new. Why spend the money if I don't have to? Spend enough on this thing. And let me do a gap measurement. Yep. Looks fairly decent. Let's see, no cracks. Make sure I didn't drop any of them. All right. This is the fun part. Now what I like to use, I don't like to use a lot of silicone on this stuff, so I use this stuff, shellac. This stuff works so good, and it's so resistant to gasoline and oils and stuff. I dropped some of this in my fuel tank, in the fuel cell, and it hit the bottom of the tank, a little blob of it. And then months later, I went back to check the fuel pump, opened the tank up, and that stuff was still sitting there the day it hit. It wasn't even touched by any dissolving. But this stuff works pretty well to fill in just the cracks or the dimples and voids. And I use it to hold the gasket in place as well sometimes. It never dries. It'll get kind of gummy, but it won't dry. Some sticky stuff though, I tell you what. I think it's made of dinosaur snot. Now this one, we go here. This one, let's check this. Yep. We'll go here. So this means that next time I take this apart, the stuff it'll come apart. It's not a problem. But here we go. Put a little bit on the water pump housing. Work it here, and then I got my bolts figured out, I hope. Yep, so I'll put that one in. Something doesn't seem right. All right, I got something in the way. There we go. Here. Got the steering pump in the way. Okay. Some of these are short and long. There's a shorty. Put some on my thread sealer, just in case there's a water passage in there anywhere. And it'd keep this stuff from seizing as well. Put a little bit on the actual body of it. This went on a long one. Okay. Don't need a lot of it, although I'm making a mess. Yes, I am making a mess. All right. Okay. I should probably make sure I got everything in order here. I'll run those in. See, that goes there. That goes there. Okay. So don't run in the bottom one just yet. Alright, let's check the alternator side. Need a bracket. I made this thing here. It's actually for the lower belt. I used a tensioner, used it as an idler pulley, and it keeps me from throwing that lower belt when I'm on the drag strip for the alternator belt. And you can, that's the alternator tension lead, and then I can also adjust this thing by swinging it. But originally, a lot of these old Dodges had something like this for the lower belt. I have a factory one, but it's got a V-groove for the belt instead of being flat. Okay, this actually went up there. That went there. Oh yeah, that went on there. So I'm good on the pump. Let's tighten these up then. Oh yeah, it's pushing on that dimple I made. Just a little bit. Let's see how much. Okay, I think that's all right. Take this by hand. That better not leak after I just bragged about how good that stuff works. It makes taking it apart so much easier. Just about one crack of the elbow is about the torque you need. This side here, when I'm pulling, it's like just one smidge below pulling a bicep muscle, so that's pretty good on that one. So I had to kind of put the timing cover, I had to go to the back side and kind of pop it out just a hair where that cam button went to give it enough room. It's going to be right on that button, as long as it's not like shoving the cam into the block. I hope not. The cam definitely isn't going to walk because it was like an exact fit. But it touched it, but it didn't really push on it. I don't know. Ah, boy. I guess I could take the distributor out, put a screwdriver in there and see if the cam will move back and forth just a tiny little bit. Just a few thousandths even will be fine. All right, let's continue with this though. Oh. I wasn't supposed to put that bottom bolt in. Oh, I think that thing is about out of power. Oh, almost forgot. These shims, I have two shims in here and they go on the inside. I don't remember if they go on the front or back. Actually, by the looks of that, they go on the front. By the index mark on the back. that's enough. Yeah, I guess that's enough thread. Okay. All right, I got the right one on there, I believe. If not, we'll find out. And the alternator, and a nice long nasty bolt for that. All right, and I don't know where it is. What did I do with the alternator? Oh. Okay, so this thing, I believe went like that, and this one went down on the bottom. That's why I got that out of there. Crazy how rusty all this stuff gets, and I've got coolant in it. That's just nuts. Yes, sirree. Actually, I guess before I finish up the alternator, I need to hook up a new line for my pump. I must have cut the old line up to make it work with the electric pump. So I got to build that line back again and run it up here to the filter right here. What I did there, I don't remember. Huh. But I got an AN or a GIC end on it. Now this is the next day, and you can probably see down here that valley pan, I don't have the gold one in there anymore. It's laying on the floor. Just another chalk it up for wasted cash on an idea that didn't work. Now that those pans are available because the Mopar is set up this way, the big block, to put that in there and be a little simpler or a nice installation. But the I cranked this thing up, drove it around the block the other night, and it just started dumping oil everywhere. I don't know if you can see back here, but there's oil all over the back of this. This valley was swimming in oil. And you can see it down here. None of this stuff sealed very well. The mild crankcase pressure that it has, or it didn't stick well enough to the head, or just not enough of it to stick very well. But some of the sealer came up in here, and it just started pushing oil out of it. Because you know the inside of that engine is fogged with oil while it's running high speed. And it dumped it everywhere. So I just forget that stupid thing. I cleaned up the original one that I had and just painted it black, put it back in there. I don't see why that won't be a problem. Never was before, except that it's used now. But so I got that worked out, got it back together. I'm going to put my spark plug back in. I got it all set up. We'll go ahead and start it this time, and I'll show you how good this thing sounds. Now before, I had about 7 inches of vacuum on this thing. Yeah, 7 inches of vacuum. And this cam is actually one size bigger than the one that was in it. It turns out that the intake closing on it is like 6 degrees sooner than the original one that was in this. My cylinder pressure is still about 180, cranking pressure. But that gives me a little more dynamic compression, which isn't good. Unless the quench helps with the pinging problem, more dynamic compression isn't going to help anything. I did the math last night. I don't remember it being this high, but standard compression on this engine is 12.5 to 1 pounds. That's pretty damn high. You can't run that on pump gas. Well, not full throttle anyway. So my dynamic is net 9.5 to 1. So the dynamic, when we built my buddy's car, it seems on the 91 octane out here, probably 7 to 8 to 1 PSI for dynamic compression. That's different than standard compression. So if your dynamic's between 7 and 8, you can probably run 91 octane in it, despite everything else. That's the important number. So my dynamic's 9.5. So to get the compression down, I'd have to lose all my quench and put probably a good 60, 70 thousandths head gasket in there, lose all the quench work that I worked at, and just get it running from there. Now, quench won't necessarily give more power. It makes it a lot more efficient. You need less timing, and it's just a better running engine. All the new cars today have various quench pads in their chambers. But I'm going to leave the cylinders alone for now. It did ping pretty well last night, but I backed the timing down some, and it helped a lot. But I'm just going to run it for now like this, and let's try it out. I'm just trying not to run race gas if I can help it. Or maybe even just a light mix, I don't know. Or I could run methanol injection. Tell me what you think. I have methanol injection in the Turtle and the 52 Slug. And I did have methanol on this injection with the old cam in it when it did ping, and it got rid of every bit of it, all the pinging. So in the beginning of the video, I mentioned that. And but let's see what can happen here. I don't want to buy another $800 kit of methanol injection. But then what's the difference? I got to go buy thick head gaskets and get rid of the efficiency of a quench pad and all that kind of stuff. So there's, you know, trade-offs with everything. But it idles now with 12 inches of vacuum at idle. It's almost double what it had before, so it ought to help my power brakes. It runs a little bit smoother, not quite as choppy, which is okay. If it's kind of a street car too, and you're sitting in traffic with a street car with a heavy lope, it gets annoying as can be. So and it'll run a little more efficiently with less chop to it. So let's crank this thing up. Hopefully it doesn't splatter oil everywhere. Timing should be pretty close, hopefully. As long as I don't dump oil all over the place again. It's all over the bottom of the car. Let's say a little less timing. That didn't sound good. What the heck was that? That sounded like a straight open exhaust leak or something. Oh, it helped if I put the spark plug back in. Yeah, that's a straight open exhaust leak, all right. Let's see how much oil I got of this would probably help if I check that. Did it get over full? What the heck? Anyway. Maybe I got too much in it. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. I don't get it. Anyway, it's got plenty. Pretty good. It's always run a little lumpy when it was cold, but sounds like it's got a mist. Oh, it does. Man, I'm not thinking. I did that at work the other day too. I left this plug off. I've been getting kind of forgetful lately. It's kind of making me nervous. Oh, that sounds much better. Check out my 8-track. Kidding, it's a AM/FM. Yeah, I made that little bad boy a long time ago. Yeah, that sounds better. Pretty good. 15, it's still a little high. Right about there. And 10 and 12, 13. Pretty good. But see how smooth that is? If it had a bad valve or a burn valve or some kind of weird misfire, that needle would be jumping around. Every time it hit that bad cylinder, it would jump around. It's kind of an old-fashioned way of diagnosing cylinder problems. That's crazy steady. That's straight off the manifold. That's really good. It's burning off condensation. Or it's got a blown head gasket, one or the other. Let's wait till it warms up. I can't really drive it today. It's pretty wet out. Still raining. Thing needs a bath. Well, 14. Twice what it had before. For being mechanical rockers, I haven't checked the adjustment on them. I got to check them when they're hot to see if my check the rockers again when they're hot, and see if my guesstimation was right with putting an extra thousandth on them, and see how tight they get. Yeah, that's good stuff right there. I appreciate you guys watching this video. We'll do another one with this thing driving and see how it does. And so right now it's kind of experimenting, you know, with the compression on this thing. See what I can do if I can get away. I really don't want to put thicker head gaskets on it. When I bought the stroker kit, I could have bought a kit with dish pistons that had a quench pad built into them. But I must have had different heads on it or something. I don't remember. It's been a while. But that's up there, 12.5 to 1. Surprised it's only 180 psi. But that goes to show that cylinder board, head chamber, and intake closing points and all make a big difference with all those numbers. The main one is that dynamic compression. If it was in 7 or 8 range, it'd be fine no matter what the rest of it said. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.